Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L and now let's talk Shokugeki no Soma or Food Wars chapter 265. And this one had a really long chapter title. It was something called Soma Megumi's Hot Spring Case Files, the darkness lurking behind the steam. And let me just tell you guys, this first off, if Shokugeki no Soma goes off with a slight detective mystery kind of twist to it for a little bit for this current arc, I'd be totally into that. I think, you know, I'd be interested in the novelty value of this kind of mechanic to the arc, but you know, going into this arc itself, I'm not really feeling it. You know, I think we started off really nicely last week, but this time I'm just, I'm not fully there. You know, we went through the chapter and I'm not that interested. It's actually pretty interesting. Like my interest level from last week just kind of went down pretty hard with this one. I think it's just, I think this chapter is too chill. I think it's too normal. I think it's too subdued. I think there's a lot of spots in the chapter that slow it down. For instance, starting it off with the flashback. The flashback's good for the interactions between the three people, Soma, Megumi, and Erina. And then after that, we just go into them finding out about a town. Now, like, parts of it are really good, and like parts of it are necessary. But at the same time, we're finding out about a town that really only has value for this arc itself, and like there's a lot of dialogue revolving around setting up like, oh my god, you know, like this is a mystery. You know, we're framing the thing as like the restaurant or the hotel just had a sudden disappearance. That's like a mystery hook, right? So they are framing it like that, and you know, we go around and we're talking to all the people, but really, like, to what degree is that interesting? Like, halfway through the whole talking to people, we have Soma just switching back to playing games, and that's good because there's that's a pretty nice visual gag. It's pretty funny when Soma's doing that, and as we just move through the chapter, we just move into like the more slice of life stuff with Soma and Megumi having their finding accommodations, and then we have just a food scene without a foodgasm, pretty much, with Soma and Megumi having food at the hotel. And so you spend even 2 pages with just them eating. So the chapter, I think on a structure bit, isn't all that exciting. But if you were like considering it in the context of a full story, if you were considering it in the context of a murder mystery novel, if we were considering it in the context of the volume, this would be one of the establishment chapters, and then we need this setup kind of so that we can like play off of it later when we get to the climax of the chapter. And so with that, you know, you got to be mindful of that and think, okay, well, it has to happen. But now, because they're kind of spoofing a murder mystery, it turns things up into the case of how valuable was the information that the people were giving you at the beginning, right? Because when it comes to the murder mystery novels or the mystery genre in general, you want to have your clues being shown relatively early on, and depending on the context of the length of the novel itself or the chapter, right? You want those clues early on. Otherwise, the conversations with the people at the very beginning are very much wasted, because once we move out of this arc, those conversations go nowhere. They're only valuable if they kind of lead to figuring out what happens with the overall mystery in the context of a mystery. But given that this is Shokugeki no Soma and this is cooking, I think it's ultimately, those scenes are ultimately just filler there that just lend themselves to establishing the setting a little bit, and I think there might be like just too much of it. I think that's ultimately why it just slows it down too much. On the grounds of a mystery spoof, I don't think it works really well, because I don't think there were any clues. Well, aside from the basic clues, I don't think they go that far, unless the next chapter is still like hardcore playing into the mystery angle. So this is one of those cases where like it's really hard to like actually criticize the chapter when you don't know what the chapter is building up to. and specifically with this one because we're going with a mystery. But you know, is it really a mystery when we're at the end and we see this man on the ground? Like, again, the spoof of the murder mystery is pretty hard here, but look at this, man. Like, obviously this guy is down because he just experienced a wicked foodgasm. All right, like, that is not blood, that is sauce. If that is blood from humans, I will give the author some applause, man. What an interesting way to take Shokugeki no Soma. But like, nah, this is most likely sauce. Most likely someone just Shokugeki this guy's butt. And unfortunately, this guy's clothes are still on, so that means there's no dual monsters in sight. No dual monsters, no stats. We're not gonna get any supernatural power Shokugeki anytime soon. And that's disappointing. I think we deserve nice things, and right now a nice thing for us would be to see a superpowered Shokugeki. I think that would be hilarious. But I don't see any scorch marks, so nah, it's just a regular old Shokugeki. And like, really at this point, some guy just claimed an establishment. Yeah, I wonder who that was. Like, the first guess is Aizen, because he's the only dick that would go around doing this. But he was a second year, so did he get kicked out of Totsuki? I doubt it. So I'm interested. I think the nose looks like Aizen's too, but I wish we could have just seen a little bit of his hair. Anyway, aside from that, like, you know, dialing it back, going back into the chapter, the only other really big thing that you got here was Megumi and Soma. And if you're a Megumi Soma fan, I think this chapter is great for you. But here's my like personal feelings on Megumi and Soma, is that I largely do not care for the Megumi Soma dynamic, only because I have not been given enough reason to care about it. The thing with Soma in general is just like, Soma's an interesting character to follow. He's fun, he's competent. Megumi's a character that's based around losing and being told that she did really well despite her losing, right? She's a graceful loser is how the people want to set her up. Like, the big example, we go back to her little thing with Momo, that she lost to Momo, but she won a higher victory. And this is like something that Megumi like gets off on like most often. Like, go back all the way to Shinomiya. She won on the basis of her potential, and that's how she's always going to win until she actually reaches her potential. But when it comes to Soma, like, her dynamic with Soma, she's just way too complacent, right? It's not the same as Irina. Irina is funnier and there's a little bit more heart to heart going on with Irina and Soma. And like, even if you look at this scene where they're both looking out the window, like, this scene is kind of, you can parallel it to the time that Irina and Soma were looking out a window into the sky, and just the effort between two scenes. No, Irina obviously is going to get the bigger art pieces with Megumi. Megumi's second fiddle, right? Megumi's second best. Megumi is second best to Irina. That's why she took the 10th seat spot. Like, listen, the author giving Megumi the 10th seat is because they're setting up a parallel between Irina and Megumi, alright? So when it comes down to it, Megumi as a character, unfortunately, I think gets shafted a lot. And when it comes to pairing her up with Soma, she's too complacent for Soma. Where people like Irina and Takumi will butt heads with Soma because of their clashes and personalities, or because of their personal principles, Megumi's the kind of person that's gonna be flustered underneath Soma just because Soma's too cool, right? And it's not that interesting a dynamic. So for this arc, I really do think that I think the arc for me will succeed if it was to say, it needs to show me the next level of the Megumi Soma dynamic. You know, I don't want to keep seeing this thing where Soma's gonna come in to make things better for Megumi. I don't want to see this thing where like even someone like Irina is gonna come in to make things better for Megumi. Remember, one of the big things with the Momo thing was that Irina followed it up to cement that Megumi had a good idea. And it's just like, no, man. One of the best things that she got from being paired with Shinomiya was that Megumi was able to stand up for herself for one of like the rare instances in Shokugeki no Soma. I want to keep seeing that Megumi. I don't care if she's gonna lose more, but look, the reality is, if Megumi ends up getting into Shokugeki here and Megumi loses, and then Soma has to step in to like make it better, nah, that's a failing. The character is in a lot of trouble. But if the author also wants to go in the direction of making this a buddy cop dynamic with Megumi and Soma being hard-boiled detectives doing things, and we're doing food mysteries, that'd be pretty cool too, because you know, you're giving us a different angle to the relationship. Ultimately, what I want to see here is something new and something that is like worth Megumi's character. Like, one thing for sure, she gets really nice art, right? Like, the author does know how to make a pretty girl. I mean, he has experience with making girls look really pretty. Or sorry, not the author, the artist. But I need to see some more fire here for her, man. Like, she's just too complacent with Soma. But those are my thoughts. I'm being really critical here because there wasn't much else to talk about the chapter, pretty much. But those are my points. First off, the mystery spoof, the structure that the chapter took because of the mystery spoof, and then just Megumi's utilization in general. I want to see Shinomiya Megumi more, right? But it's also the setup chapter. We'll only know what the author wants to do with Megumi when we see them getting into a stressful situation, and we see whether or not Megumi does a little habit of doing the man thing, like where she eats the symbol on her arm or on her hand. And also we need to see if there's going to be a Shokugeki, who's going to be in the Shokugeki. Because if it's Megumi, we definitely need to see her like perform on her own merits. Actually, if she ends up facing off against Aizen, that would be a very interesting thing, a very interesting statement to have for her character. I'd be into that. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, guys, let me know what you thought down below. Am I being too critical? Am I being too harsh? Let me know. But till next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.